The most important building in modern Poland might not be a factory, a bank, or a government ministry. It might be an airport terminal. Because for years, one of the defining images of post-2004 Poland was not people rushing in, it was Poles flying out. To London, to Dublin, to Berlin, to Oslo. That sounds strange, because on paper, Poland is one of Europe's great success stories. The OECD says Polish GDP per capita has doubled since 2005, and the European Commission says Poland was one of the EU's fastest-growing economies between 2022 and 2024. And no, literally nobody wanting to live in Poland is not true. At the start of 2024, nearly 936,000 foreign nationals were living there. And in 2024, Poland still issued around 180,000 long-term residence permits to non-EU citizens. But that is exactly what makes the story so revealing. Poland grew, Poland modernized, Poland got richer. And still, for a huge number of people, the instinct was to look west. This is the dark side of Poland. Because the real problem in Poland is not that the country has no economy. It is that the economy still does not feel secure enough, flexible enough, or rewarding enough to make staying an obvious choice. At the end of 2024, Statistics Poland estimated that around 1.499 million Polish citizens were still temporarily living abroad for at least 12 months. And OECD data show that immigration of Polish citizens to OECD countries was still running at roughly 136,000 to 137,000 a year in 2022 and 2023, with Germany and the Netherlands among the main destinations. That is not a fringe phenomenon, that is a structural signal. And if you want to understand why, start with the most visible symptom of all: delayed adulthood. In Poland, the housing problem is not just about home prices being high. It is about the fact that housing is still too cramped, too rigid, and too ill-suited to a modern mobile workforce. In 2024, 33.7% of people in Poland lived in overcrowded households, one of the highest rates in the entire European Union. At the same time, Poland looks like a country of homeowners, with 84% of households owner-occupiers in 2022. But that number is misleading. Much of it is a legacy of post-communist privatization, not proof of abundant, flexible housing. Poland's rental market remains small, and the social housing stock is only around 6.6% of dwellings, below the EU average. So yes, people may own more often on paper, but that does not mean young adults can easily move, rent, relocate, or form households where the jobs are. And that matters more than people think. Because when housing is inflexible, everything else starts to freeze. Labor mobility freezes, family formation freezes, regional adjustment freezes. The OECD now calls housing affordability a central policy challenge in Poland. Housing supply has not kept pace with demand, real house prices have risen over the past decade, and the pressure is harshest at the bottom. Among low-income households, nearly 2/3 of private renters and 1/3 of mortgage holders spend more than 40% of their disposable income on housing costs. Meanwhile, the number of completed dwellings fell from 238,490 in 2022 to 221,259 in 2023. So even in a country where heating affordability is relatively better than much of Europe, the bigger housing story is still shortage, overcrowding, and a lack of options. But if this were only a housing story, Poland would just be another European affordability case. It is not. The deeper problem is demographic. Poland does not mainly have a jobs crisis, it has a people crisis. In 2024, Poland's unemployment rate for people aged 15 to 64 was just 3%, well below the OECD average. And by Eurostat methodology, it was 3.1% in January 2026, the lowest in the EU. That sounds like strength, and in one sense, it is. But it also means the economy is already operating in a tight labor market, while the supply of workers is shrinking. OECD data show job vacancies almost doubled, from 56,000 in 2014 to 107,000 in 2024. The same OECD work says the number of people aged 15 to 64 is projected to fall from 24.8 million in 2024 to 19.8 million by 2050. Another official projection says the working age population will shrink by around 2 million by 2040. So the problem is not that Poland cannot create jobs. The problem is that it may not have enough people left to fill them. And this is where the story gets brutal. Because Poland is not just aging. It is aging with one of the weakest fertility profiles in Europe. Official data show the fertility rate fell from 1.16 in 2023 to 1.10 in 2024. Eurostat's broader data show Poland remained below the lowest low fertility threshold of 1.3 in 2024. That matters, because once a country gets trapped in a cycle of fewer births, fewer young women of childbearing age, and delayed family formation, recovery becomes incredibly difficult. It stops being a one-year blip and starts becoming a national trajectory. Now add one more layer. Poland's Western pay gap never fully disappeared. Yes, Poland is much richer than it used to be. Yes, wage growth has been real. But Europe is still a giant comparison machine. In Eurostat's earnings data, Poland's median gross hourly earnings were 6.9 euros in 2022. In Germany, they were 19.4 euros. And on January 1, 2025, Poland's monthly minimum wage was 1,091 euros. Germany's was 2,161 euros. Of course, price levels differ. Of course, nominal comparisons are not the whole story. But migration decisions are not made in a textbook. They are made by nurses, drivers, tradespeople, engineers, and graduates asking one simple question: where can I save faster, rent more easily, and build a future sooner? And for a lot of Poles, the answer is still not Poland. So why has Poland, despite all this growth, struggled to make staying feel irresistible? Because much of Poland's success has been convergent success, not frontier success. It has been brilliant at catching up, less brilliant at becoming the kind of economy that can consistently keep its most ambitious people home. The European Innovation Scoreboard 2025 classifies Poland as an emerging innovator, with a summary innovation index at 65.9% of the EU average, ranking 23rd in the bloc. Its finance and support score is just 61% of the EU average. Venture capital performance reaches only 20.1% of the EU average. And the Commission's own country material says low public and private R&D investment plus weak collaboration between science and business still hold Poland back. That is the real trap. Poland has become strong enough to educate talented people, but not always strong enough to absorb them into a deep enough ecosystem of high-value jobs, capital, research, and innovation. And when that happens, the country becomes a ladder. People climb it, and then they leave. A country can survive being poorer than Germany. It cannot thrive if too many of its best workers still treat Germany as the upgrade path. The consequences show up everywhere, especially in public services. Take healthcare. OECD data show only 51% of people in Poland were satisfied with the availability of quality healthcare versus an OECD average of 64%. Poland has 3.9 practicing doctors per 1,000 people and 5.9 nurses per 1,000. The doctor figure is only around the OECD average, but the nurse figure is far below it. And long-term care staffing is especially weak. The result is exactly what you would expect in an aging country with workforce strain: long waits and thin capacity. OECD waiting time data show that in 2024, the median wait for a hip replacement in Poland was 343 days. That is not a small inconvenience. That is a system telling you, in slow motion, that it does not have enough slack left. And the state will feel this pressure more and more. The OECD already warns that, after large increases in social, health, and defense spending, Poland needs sustained fiscal adjustment while also dealing with rising aging costs. That is the nightmare combination: fewer workers, more retirees, more healthcare demand, more defense pressure, more need for productivity, more need for taxpayers. In other words, exactly the moment when you most need people to stay is the moment when the incentives to leave can still look stronger. That is why the title works, even if it is an exaggeration. It is not that Poland has no growth, it does. It is not that nobody moves there, people do. It is not that the country is collapsing, it isn't. The tragedy is more subtle than that. Poland has built roads, factories, exports, and a much bigger economy. But it still has not fully built a future sticky enough to keep enough of its own people, especially young adults, skilled workers, and families, convinced that their best life belongs there. And until that changes, Poland will remain one of Europe's strangest contradictions, a country rich enough to look like a success, but fragile enough to keep exporting its future. Poland does not mainly lack growth, it lacks enough reasons to stay.